Awesome. Well, yeah, that was a fantastic presentation from Alco, and yeah, he's a fantastic guy and knows a ton of stuff. Up next, we have uh, Bobby Purba. How are you doing, Bobby?
Really good. Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, and very exciting. I know with Mogul expanding into Vancouver, we're finally getting some Vancouver blood in here, presenting what's happening in BC. So I believe you're one of the first presenters here from the building side in Vancouver. So Bobby's going to be talking about maximizing your property value. So I'm going to let you take it away, Bobby, and thanks again for being here.
Thanks for having me. So yeah, great share so far. Thankful for being here, for having the opportunity to connect with James and the Mogul team at large. And a few things that already came up today. James shared that listing from a feasibility perspective on that Semlin Drive. So the market is quite hot here, and there's a lot of uses for the property. So we're having these engaging conversations collectively around maximizing property value. We heard a bit about duplexes, fourplexes. It's big here. Really exciting to hear from Olco that the city of Edmonton is taking a good stand around allowing that density to happen. We're doing some similar things in Vancouver around duplexes, but not so much steadfastly around fourplexes per se. It's still quite heavy lifting, bureaucratic, especially in the sort of the Metro Vancouver, Burnaby, Tri Cities area. But we're really pushing hard. The city's pushing for easier permits, quicker permits around laneways and coach homes and garage suites, as you guys would know it in Edmonton. So, going to touch base on a number of those topics. So, my name is Bobby, second generation real estate developer and investor. Previously, I was in the finance side of the house. I also was a software engineer. And having been around job sites since I was around 7 years old, there's a natural fit to leave kind of the planes, trains, automobile job that I had for 14 years in the corporate environment, traveling across North America. Really enjoy what I'm doing. Love working with, my realtor colleagues, my banker colleagues. Gonna touch around this concept I call, your business partner and how to team up to be successful in any real estate market, really. So, little snapshot of me there, whatever you can pick up. The father of two and a little COVID puppy at home. So it's been quite exciting through COVID to reshape the business, look at go-to-market models, and be here today to share some of that knowledge with you guys. And please keep it open. Look forward to your questions in the chat group. If we can't cover it this evening, then we can share contact information and take that offline. So actually, one other thing. So here's kind of a breakout of agenda. Somebody was talking about labor and material costs, and our labor is really tough to find, even on the lesser skilled side. Very, very tough to find even a second year um, carpenter, even for general labor, even. So it's really tough in Vancouver, and everybody's asking for more money and looking for new jobs. So there's all this shift happening. And of course, we talked about lumber and pricing on that. So things are gotten more expensive, if not less. So from a business partner, so what I was going to cover off is, a little bit about me. I want to talk about business partnering, maximizing property values, give you some case studies and types of properties that can be leveraged and how to leverage them, and talk a little bit around process with the municipalities. It varies between municipalities, but kind of overarching what that looks like, and the design build process. Going to share a sample construction timeline as we share inside of BDC Homes with our clients, and then of course to tie this all together around best practices. I believe I'm also going to share with you a rental project case study with some photos too, just to be go full circle. So really focused around team and business partnering. So even when I think about the real estate agent involved, I don't think of realtors as my realtor. I look at him as the one of the critical pillar foundation pieces around, as my developer agent, as my developer resource, and my developing partner. And I'll describe to you why in the next slide here of the critical pieces that he or she's going to bring to my investment portfolio or for my client's benefit. Um, Financing, of course, we need the big banks, we need the credit unions to support us. Design build, how are we going to fold that into getting to the goals of profit maximization, or adding more cash flow to your existing properties, or buying cash flow properties. So what's inside of the team real estate, right, on that side? There's a language around this team member. Buildable and sellable. What does that mean? It's a different piece around, what's the square footage we can get, or how much can we build or add onto this house. I know in Edmonton, I've learned recently that you can add another unit and create another living space, where in Vancouver, you would have to actually build a duplex outright versus adding additional space. So there's some nuances. So what's the process really when you're coming from an investment growth mind perspective? Kind of three categories is, what is the project? Let's define that. What's the development goal? What's the target market? Do they need to be in specific areas? Walk scores to, I don't know, yoga studios or coffee shops, as it's really popular here in Vancouver, or school zones, catchments. So understanding that with your realtor, really, really critical. So we're looking at the right product in the right location for the right build spec. The shopping piece, already sort of touched on that, right? Lifestyle choices, also touched around zoning and lot size, building envelopes, right? The typical stuff as a normal regular buyer versus an investor buyer, we're still concerned about many of the same things, like heritage, character, merit, soil conditions. Trees are a huge thing in Vancouver, where I've had colleagues have to do a suspended slab to build a laneway home, so as not to disturb the tree's roots. So a little tricky. And then you get into deal cycle. Are there tenancies to deal with? Are there existing applications or previous applications? Are there OCP amendments happening, or could we apply for some rezoning or OCP amendments inside of that official community plan? Not to drop a three-letter acronym on you just out of the blue. And then how do we process that with the current owner? Can we get agent authorization while we're working towards the completion and possession date? Could we go to the city and start applying for some of the permits? Can we go ahead and get a property survey? So again, building the team out with the real estate agent, your developer agent, absolutely critical. Financing, pretty straightforward. Really terms and conditions. Do we have to get creative? And I know in the Vancouver market, and sounds like Edmonton market moving really quickly, when you've got to shift money, perhaps there's a private lender that can give you some bridge financing to get creative around disposing of and getting into nuance. You can meet those deadlines and get a good deal on the land purchase through negotiating on terms, because price is one thing, but terms are also very important to many folks. So again, your real estate advisor, real critical. Design, build, and even home inspection. So having your builder come to look at a property you're thinking of, creating more density in, having a specialist, a home inspector to come there, really good. As you'll see in the case study I'm going to show you, the home inspector was there. The buyer bought it for the growth that they were going to see in this property, but they were at least in the know and is fully transparent what they're getting themselves into. So again, the process here is, having that vision, setting it out early on in, understanding through a CMA, through your real estate team and advisors of, what is my design goal? What is the build spec that's going to work here to maximize return on my money? And what is time to market? Is it going to take us 6 months, a year to get there? And what does the market look like from a year from now? I know this crystal ball thing was dropped earlier, and we don't know exactly. However, if we're buying ahead of the curve or buying on density, there's different ways to look at a project. I always tell my clients and even my business partners is fit is going to be really important. Are we going to be able to move through this at a decent speed to deliver on an end product in time for the market to be there, whether it's the rental market or the resale market? Are we adding the right value into the property? Does it have enough improvement opportunities in it that we can actually get that jump in value? Again, I know step code is real big here as we move towards Vancouver's goal of net zero homes by 2032, I believe. And passive homes is a big topic here. So step code is a real piece, depending on Vancouver has their own code, for example, and then the rest of British Columbia has their own BC code. So depending on where we're developing and building or renovating, it just depends. So The next thing to be prepared for is retention. Absolutely, once you start got your team built out, make those commitments, sign contracts, and get deposits ready on hand, cash deposits or deposits in trust, so you can easily execute early on in versus to delay the project later on. So 4 types of accessory buildings. I thought this was really critical, especially for the Vancouver folks, because I know the lingo changes between municipalities, but there are very specific things that are different in these kind of smaller space homes that are designed. They're all situated at the back or the side. So I'll go real quick here on a laneway home, as it says, it's on the lane. So it's typically replacing a garage or a carport or a shed, and it sits on the lane. Um, Coach home, there's no lane. So these are usually some larger properties in very particular areas. So it's a coach home, there's no lane, but it's very similar. So we don't call it a laneway. Carriage home, similar idea, usually a garage in the bottom and a living space above, and a lane could exist in that build out. Now infill, this is the real good one here. Now they're also situated at the side of or the back of the property. There may be a lane or not a lane, but the infill is actually a separate PID. So it has a separate property identifier, which means it can be sold. So I know in Toronto they had a record sale of like 2.2 million on an infill property. They called it a coach home in the newspaper, but it was an infill. So there are some nuances there. Coach homes, carriage, and laneways cannot be sold, but an infill unit can be sold. And there's some other cool stuff around heritage retention, and there's all different nuances of getting additional density. So I won't bore you with some of those things this evening, but just so you're aware of kind of the levers. So outside of that, laneway is one of the levers. There are 3 others that are really centered and focused around maximizing your property value. What I mean by that is, is it cash flow that we're after? Is it rental income that we're after to increase? Really, it all centers on making money, and the pillar around that is really around net asset worth, increasing your net asset worth. How do you use equity from one property, leverage another one? Banker, real important here, right? Another business partner to have early on in your process that you get on with is a good fit that understands your vision that can help you execute on your real estate goals. So laneway in Vancouver, especially aging in place, we're sort of landlocked here, right? We're not able to create new land. So what the city is allowing us to do is put in laneways. So aging in place, families that want to stay in the community they lived in. I went to the same elementary school as my mom in East Vancouver. There's this nostalgia of being in Vancouver and wanting to stay together, living together. So the laneway provides that opportunity where a half duplex sells for 1.8 million or 1.7 million. It's become very unaffordable, and by creating laneway homes, you can support local communities, build a home office, live together, age in place. The other piece is around renovating, adding secondary suites, or upsizing, downsizing, improving your lifestyle. So that's a very common play where we could go in and renovate a Vancouver special, spend a few hundred thousand and make another 150 or 200,000 on top. Where the market is today, it's impossible to even find one of those properties because as soon as the market shifted, everybody's hunting for those because they're just solid homes built in the 70s like me. Duplex. So in Vancouver, similar to Edmonton, allowing the fourplex outright, depending on the zoning and land size. More recently, duplex properties have been zoned outright. If the zoning is RS1, for example, it's an outright duplex. Whereas previously, it could have taken you 18 months to 24 months to get a permit. There are certain zonings that allow you to get into a duplex project immediately. What do you do in that scenario? Well, you could sell both of the units. You could sell one, rent one, and these are conversations we're having regularly to help clients decide whether they renovate the house that they're living in now, or do they upgrade their lifestyle and sell one unit and live in the other. Finally, custom homes. So the beauty about custom homes is, you can kind of combine all the previous 3 we talked about. You can add a laneway in the back. With a duplex, you cannot. You could renovate the front home and add a laneway in the back. There's a number of different plays here for maximizing your value, and your net, increasing your net asset worth. So I'm going to switch a little bit around the renovation piece. This is going to be the case study I was referring to earlier. So a client of mine, in fact, I looked at this home too, but for me, the numbers when I worked, as well as it did for this client, just depending on your expectations on an annualization of a return. So 3,700 square foot home in a great high-end area with a French immersion school, mountain tip views. Not the best house on the block. You could tell from the outside, and definitely on the inside, it was turned into a boarding home. But there was a huge opportunity to add value. Pre-rental inspections with the inspector and a walkthrough. They had rodents, a few different types. Electrical issues, wiring the panels, the alarm system didn't work. It was poor lighting. You could really smell. The air quality was poor. We found gas leaks, we found plumbing leaks, but with a good interior designer on the design build focus is how we took it. We opened up the floor plan. We upgraded all the kitchens and bathrooms. We laid out some of the bathrooms. We created accessibility options because one of the owners was aging, and we wanted to make sure that we could put a nice big door in there with a good clean shower and wheelchair accessibility. So we had to level some floors off. We put in a whole bunch of new pot lights. We smoothed out all the ceilings, yada yada yada. Where do we end up? The end result, they've spent a pretty penny. They have a beautiful home now. I think in a 10 to 12 week period, they were moved in. COVID hit. We were able to do some safe COVID finishing of their house, got them in, and they could probably turn around and flip that home and easily um, double their money on their investment in the renovation. So here's a little snapshot of the before kitchen and the before shared bathroom upstairs. And just to give some perspective, these bright white colors are real nice, but they're hard to photograph. So the kitchen on the left, we blew out the wall, open out to the entry. They have a big family, 20, 30 people at Christmas or Thanksgiving coming over. So we wanted to provide them that great space. In the bathroom, we put a nice big shower in there, custom shower with tiles on the floor and some lighting, and we laid out the vanities for them. So a lot of improvement there just walking in. So I'm not going to go too far and too deep into design build process because that can be very different depending on the municipality. But essentially, engaging with your partner team, this is the approach we would suggest to all of our clients, and whether you're investing or you're buying your first home or a condominium apartment, is do the feasibility study. Understand what the budget would look like and what the renovation or construction timeline would be. Really starting to understand getting a proposal and a budget together on, and putting together an idea book is what I like to call it. Go to Pinterest, go to House, allow your banker to know, allow your real estate to know, and have that conversation at home so you're ready to execute and get into the design build process and get those drawings going, get the materials selected, put the deposits in place, allow your contractor to be cut loose to go and execute on his or her craft and deliver on the timeline and commitments. Municipal process. So again, the application would vary, but typically there's going to be a bylaw review when we submit the drawings. There's going to be some engineering plans if we're adding a laneway or a coach home. How do we integrate that into the existing city services, the existing home, separate metering systems? So there's going to be a bunch of hydro work to be done, water, electrical, gas, all that bit, and then getting to your final drawings. And then in Vancouver anyways, we have to apply for a in-person review even after we submitted electronically. And with COVID, I know we talked about timelines earlier, but it's gotten a lot longer. We're probably about 3 months behind on permitting, and folks are looking to hire more people in their departments and get some of these badly needed developments going, especially on the laneway density infill side of things. Construction timeline. So renovating, working with your contractor, this is kind of a sample of a 9-month window of, demo excavation. So this would be something similar to a duplex project. A laneway would be quite a bit shorter, maybe 4 to 6 months. A custom home, probably, a minimum 12 to 18 months type of window. But at least this gives an idea of high level what are we doing at any given time. It's a nice way to stay connected with your contractor, nice way to stay connected with your bank for draws and all the other good stuff that needs to happen depending on the size of the project. But at every given time, you know that here we're finishing, here's the expected move-in date, barring any sort of weather and city-related engineering, you know, this could be a good flow. So circling back around best practices, you know, engage early. We named the company By Design because we want to engage by design and work shoulder to shoulder with our clients and our designers and their real estate team, and provide what are the banking performers are required. So going the extra mile and assembling that team, get your idea book together, assemble your business partners, get into asbestos hazmat stuff as soon as possible, having a defined scope. So there's open communication, continued transparency, and budgets and timeline. And then, of course, going through a review process, making sure everything is moving along as you had been committed to, and then retaining all your business partners, asking questions, put down the deposits and retainers, and then step back. I mean, that's a huge component on successful projects is being engaged, but allowing the craftsmen and the experts to really allow them to do their craft, following their process and asking questions and staying engaged. So I'm going to pause there, check out the chat group and open it up for questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bobby. That was that was amazing. There are some crazy takeaways, and I know Linda, she caught that too. For Alberta, we call, I think what you guys call it is Laneway or coach homes. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So in Edmonton, I know for sure we call them either garden suites or garage suites. So that's kind of the lingo between Edmonton and Vancouver, what you guys are calling it. But yeah, let's go through some of these questions. So first question, how do you become a licensed land developer? And is that only in BC and not Alberta?
So BC has their own licensing program. So I think about 2015 or 2014. At that time, if you applied, you had to prove your project list and be able to support kind of field experience. So now they're looking for field experience as well as book experience. So going to an institution like BCIT here, going through some college and some construction management, project management courses, understanding code, mechanical systems. So the bar has gotten higher, definitely. Maintaining your license is very, if you don't pay on time, you don't renew on time, you may have to go back to school and reapply, even if you've been building with a license under BC Housing for 10 years.
Wow.
So it's a scary thing to make sure that you get your license, number one, and then keep it.
Good tips. So do infills need direct road access or a minimum road frontage?
Is that for Edmonton or is that a Vancouver question?
Let's keep that a Vancouver question.
Okay. So infill, the main thing, whether it's a laneway, infill, or coach, is going to be access for the firemen to come, that there's a safety access for them, a clear line.
Awesome. Good tips here. Let's see if anything else popped in. I mean, we definitely had a ton of comments on just the before and afters, and I know a lot of people love to see those before and after pictures. So thank you so much for sharing that, Bobby. One of the big takeaways that I had from what you mentioned was building your team. And I know with a lot of real estate investors and people looking to get into the real estate industry, it's all about having the right people in the right places. So for yourself being a builder, how did you kind of get started as building your team, and what did you do to make sure you had the right team in place?
Yeah, I think you just have to make the time to expose and be open and shift your mindset of being closed-minded of this is my idea, I want to carry it. It's a lot of letting go, right? Because you're opening yourself up to vulnerability, your own ideas, your own thought track, and then you have to be receptive to the feedback. So I think interviewing, go through your Rolodex, right? Go through your cell phone, not to date myself with the Rolodex, but um, you know, and go have those coffee meetings, go have those Zoom meetings, and figure out who's going to align with you from a thought track perspective, a communication style perspective, and really align with expectations, right? I think fit again becomes really important. So I don't think there's any need to be shy or to hold back on your goals or your vision. My father's always said there's in real estate, there's always opportunity. There's always going to be more opportunities. So it's not a common mindset perhaps, but my experience has been it's you know, just do it. Ask the questions, go for it. It's yours.
I love that. Yeah, it's definitely our perspective as well. As there's always opportunity. Sometimes you just have to work a little bit harder to find those. Um, the other question I had, and something that, and also another takeaway was, you talked about engaging early, and you had some Instagram, Pinterest, hows. Maybe explain to, if a client is looking to work with you, how do they take advantage of looking at those design items and then coming to you with some ideas?
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Adrian. Um, so I'll go back in time a little bit, and I did the BC Home and Garden Show twice a year for 3.5 years. And the first question somebody would ask is, what does it cost? And that's a really tough question to answer because we don't know context. So the more context you can give through Instagram, through house, through listings online, through photos of a kitchen, through or layouts even of a property, of a home, of which way the driveway is situated, what are the materials. That's going to help your realtor partner to understand which properties and areas are going to make sense to show you. It's really going to help narrow down where you're headed and get there quicker the more you share. Did I get that?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And I remember when I first started my first investment property, my first property, uh, the realtor said, "So what are you looking for?" And I said, I'm thinking a house under this budget, and I prefer, a mature neighborhood." And that's like all I gave them. So I'm sure I was the most difficult client to work with. So it's nice to do some research and have an idea before you come and chat with those experts. It'll definitely help you, I'm sure, narrow down what they're looking for.
Yeah, and I think, being transparent early on in, like the question was around being early on in and engage early. The transparency really helps everybody get on board to where it is you want to head to. The experts have done seen many clients, they understand the questions you're asking, and they may already know the area that may be a good fit for you. It doesn't maybe shorten your process for getting from A to B, but it could be a more efficient way to get there.
100%. Yeah. And in this business efficiency is key. That's for sure. Awesome. Thank you so much, Bobby, for being here and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom with us. We really appreciate it. I know that there's some more questions on slides and that sort of thing. Jen will put your information in the group chat and in the chat, and also we'll be sending it out to the newsletter as well. So if you have any more questions for Bobby, definitely don't be shy. Reach out. I know he's a man of a wealth of knowledge and willing to share that as well. We're going to move into our networking break. So again, we're going to be shuffled into some breakout rooms. So keep an eye on the top tab. That's where some of the questions will be going on. And I'm sure most of your Mogul facilitators are going to have some shamrocks in the background. So look out for that, and we will see you in the networking breaks.